So let's talk a little bit about your history before you became a famous costume designer, a legend and icon. Let's talk about when you were just Ruth. What kind of kid were you growing up?
I was just like any other kid who loved to draw. I have two brothers, older brothers that were artists, and I used to copy everything that they drew. If they drew a mountain range, I copied it exactly. If they drew characters, I wanted to draw the same characters. I really wanted to learn how to draw, and they were my, mentors. But as I was drawing in my room, I had a little desk that I would do my homework on, I would draw on. And then I discovered that I pulled up one of the leaflets on the desk, and it was a sewing machine. So then I had this sewing machine in my room, and I started messing around with learning, teaching myself how to sew, and it had a foot pedal, and I mean, it was kind of fun. It was a whole console that you created a little table where you can cut out your pattern pieces. So I was always kind of that kind of person or kid that liked to create something out of nothing.
What kind of research do you do to capture a certain period or culture style?
Oh, there's a lot of research. You don't really find what you're looking for on the first day or the first hour, or sometimes you'll see an image and you're not sure if that's the one you want to be inspired by. So you keep digging, and as you go along through looking on Pinterest and on the internet, and yeah, I buy books all the time. I have a big library of books. You're going on a journey, and that journey is to find the most information that you can find about a culture, about an era. And so I follow photographers, and I love James Van Der Zee and Teenie Harris and Gordon Parks. And I look at their work over and over and over because I always see something different. There's great collections online, Getty Images, the Schomburg Center for Research and Black Culture in Harlem. There's so many great avenues to go on. And then sometimes when I'm all the way at the end of my journey and I've come up with lots of ideas, I look, and some of the ideas that I first saw in the very beginning are the ones that I still love. So, but research is a journey, and you not only are you looking at images, but you're also reading a little bit. When I read about how slaves were making their own clothes in little huts that they had in their areas where they lived, where it was exclusively for sewing, and the slave owner would give the seamstresses basically a big bolt of fabric, all the same stripe or gingham. And that's how sometimes you see gingham and stripes and things like that in historical pictures. And they're worn, the same stripe is worn by many of the members of that plantation. It's because they just, had to use the same fabric for lots of things: aprons, kerchiefs, dresses, pants, shirts. And so you wouldn't know that just by looking at the pictures. You would think that the artist made a mistake and colored them all the same, but no, there was a reason for it, and you only get that information from reading.
What does it mean to you to be the first African-American woman to win an Oscar in costume design?
Oh, it means that it's a dream come true. I really wanted to do that for myself and for my culture, for my fellow man. I really wanted to push and get to that point. I think that was one of the goals I had in my career, was to win an Oscar. And when I thought about, there hasn't been an African-American person to win the Oscar for costume design, I thought, there it is, I'm going to do it. And, I got really upset when I thought somebody else might get it, and then the stars aligned, because it takes a movie like Black Panther, it takes a lot of votes to get to the Oscar. It's not only votes from other African Americans, it's also votes from the whole body of the academy, and that's all races. And so everyone's got to love the film. Everybody's got to love the costumes in the film. And that's hard to get to when you do a lot of Black films, because we don't necessarily have the viewership, you know, amongst everyone in the academy. But I knew when Black Panther happened, everybody was looking at that film, and it had a strong impact on America. And I was proud that that was the film that gave me the Academy Award, that gave me the Oscar for costume design. It couldn't have been a better film to have it for.
What costume that you have designed are you most proud of?
Oh, I love the Dora Milaje because they were the fan favorite, and everybody wanted to weigh in on the design. So, you know, Marvel has a visual development department, and they have a whole host of illustrators that work on all their films, and they were submitting designs. My key illustrators were submitting designs for the Dora Milaje, and Anthony Francesco was the one, his illustration was the one that we used to create the Dora Milaje, but it was just an illustration. It was just a drawing. It was on a piece of paper. And so I had to decide how we were going to infuse Africa into this idea. So it has Turkana beads, it has Himba, it has Maasai, it has Ndebele. You can go all over the continent on little parts of that costume. And when I first started making it, the craftspeople had done Lion King. And I had to keep saying to him, this is not the Lion King. We are going to make this look real. That means we're going to use some of the same techniques that the Himba girls use when they stretch the calf skin and turn it into skirts. We want it to look real. And, you know, there were days where I was completely upset when I'd see like the harness that traveled around the suit. I needed it to feel like it was crafted by hand. And I found these leather belts that I had made in South Africa when I was on Roots, and they were hand tooled together. And I brought them to my craftspeople, and I said, this is the way the harness has to look on this costume. And they did it. So I'm proud that I didn't, you know, sit back and let everybody else tell me how this was supposed to look, that I stuck to my guns.
What was the hardest costume for you to design? Or what costume did you have the hardest time coming up with an idea for?
Well, I think it was the Jabari. You might remember Mbaku. He was like, oh, we are vegetarians. You know, I'm just kidding. We are vegetarians. They were designed to have a raffia skirt. And so we made these raffia skirts, and, you know, they have wooden armor because they don't really have vibranium. They don't want to have vibranium. And they came to my office like they were big, like football players. And I was like, oh, come this way. I have a skirt for you. And the skirt was kind of short, and they had long, big legs like football players. And I was like, I got to figure this out. So then I gave them another skirt underneath the raffia skirt, which was like a long leather sheath. And then they had their furry boots, and it worked out. But that costume was one of the last ones to be put together. And I feel like we kind of like hurried and cobbled it together. But those guys, you know, one by one, they were in my fitting room for a long time for me to kind of get it right proportion wise. So that was super challenging.
In one of your interviews, you described the feeling of seeing Chadwick Boseman in the Black Panther costume for the first time. Can you describe that to us?
So the first Black Panther suit was in Captain America Civil War. And I asked that costume come to my office, and they brought it on a mannequin. And, you know, a mannequin's just like really stiff. The arms are really stiff. And I was like, that's the Black Panther costume? You know, it's not all that impressive. And I was looking at it, at all the elements, and I was like, not impressed. And so I said, well, let's bring Chadwick in. Let's have him put the suit on so he can talk to me about, you know, the suit, just how it feels to wear it and everything. And he came, put it on. And once he put the helmet on, I was like, oh my God, it's the Black Panther. Like, he's right here in my office. He was no longer Chadwick Boseman. And he was doing his karate, you know, stretches and stances. And my mouth was dropped wide open. I was like, it was magic. It was majestic. I could see how the influence of these superheroes has an effect on so many people, because he was no longer Chadwick Boseman. And then he said, but you know, I can't breathe out of my nose and I can't lift my arm. And I was like, no, that can't be. And so we decided to create a new suit. Well, they had already decided to create a new suit, and we were going to build his new suit so that we could take a little piece off the front of the helmet. So when he's doing all of his moves, he could actually breathe freely. And we also had a woman from the Boston Ballet come in and design special gussets under the arms, and so that he could actually lift his arm up.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Crazy.
Thank you so much.
Cool
This
stuff.
was amazing.
My pleasure, and good luck to you. I hope to hear about you in the future, so keep going.
Thanks.